Hey, horror fans, once again, it is me, the Horror Miser G. As we count down towards the end of 2023, this is my favorite time of the year because normally you do around the third week of December when it's right around Christmas. It is time to present my top 10 best and top 5 worst horror films of 2023. It's time to go, people.
Y'all ready for this?
Hey, horror fans, once again, it is me, the Horror Miser G. Now, when I do this, I always like to get the bad news out of the way. So I'm going to start off doing my top 5 worst horror films of 2023. Now, we had a decent year good of horror films. There's some extra horror films, and you'll see that reflected on my top 10 best. But of course, there's always some horror films that were disappointing, some didn't live up to the hype, and then we have some that were just totally bad. And here is my top 5 worst horror films that came out during the year of 2023. Now, before we begin, this is my opinion, what I believe are the top 5 worst horror films of the year, based upon what I believe what these films are, because this is my channel, so this is my opinion. Now, obviously, you might agree or disagree, but like I said, this is just my opinion. So here we go. We're going to start off with a little change. I'm going to give you 2 dishonorable mention films. I'm going to start off with the film Perpetrator. Yes, Perpetrator actually had Alicia Silverstone in it, and it had some type of a weird thing about some type of a daughter that she had, and it had some type of some type of a power. We really don't get any explanation what that is. All of a sudden she's goes to this private school after her and her father had some disagreement. He sends her to this private school, and all of a sudden girls go missing, and it's just a weird film. Didn't make any sense. Her powers are never explained. I just really didn't like it. It wasn't a bad film at all because it didn't crack my top 5, but to me it just didn't make sense. So that's one of my dishonorable mention films, Perpetrator. Coming next on my dishonorable films, it's a movie called From Black. It actually starred True Blood fame Anna Camp. She plays this woman who's getting a support group because when she was out on drugs, I think it was methamphetamine that she was strong on, her son disappeared and he was killed, and she's trying to recover. And she meets this guy in the recovery group that says he has a way for her to perform some type of a ritual to bring her dead son back. Now, the reason why I did not like this film because we really don't know what this ritual is. It's never explained to us. There's no good chemistry between Anna Camp and this guy that's in this particular film. And then when we do finally get the ritual to do what it's supposed to do, it's kind of a lackluster. Like I said, the only good thing about it is the performance of Anna Camp. She does a pretty good job of playing this role, but other than that, very forgetful film. So my second dishonorable film is From Black. All right, now let's get on with the good stuff. My fifth, coming in at number 5, I should say, coming in number 5 is a horror movie called The Tank. This film was written and directed by Scott Walker, where we see this guy Ben, who inherited an abandoned coastal town somewhere off the coastal line of California. He and his wife and his daughter, they decide to go on ahead and take a look at it, not knowing that there's some dormant creature that lives in the tank, and not just some creature, creatures live in this tank. Oh boy, the effects in this one are very terrible. Really hardly, I think there's only one decent kill throughout the whole film. The creature effects are terrible, very long, drawn out film, and the conclusion was very unsatisfying. So coming at number 5 is The Tank. Coming in at number 4, we have The Flood. Casper Van Dyne. Remember that guy from Rico from Starship Troopers? Boy, has his star fallen off. Now he has a star in films like The Flood. You want to see? I mean, I know there's a movie called Bad CGI Gator. They should have used the CGI Gators in this mess of a film. Kind of playing off of I think it was last year's, not the year before that, Crawl, where you have this series, you have this group of prisoners being held in a Louisiana jail cell during a hurricane. Of course, it starts to flood, and in the flood comes a whole bunch of hungry crocodiles. So now that the gangsters, the criminals, and the police, the sheriff, and the criminals have to work together before they get eaten by some bad CGI gators. I must have laughed my ass off. So you looking at these bad CGI. First of all, the acting's bad. The CGI alligator is bad. I don't think there was any decent gore effects in this particular one right there. I mean, God, you want to talk about bad. So coming in at number 4 is The Flood. Coming in at number 3, it is Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. Oh man, talking about people were looking forward to this film because you all know the story. Finally, they don't. Winnie the Pooh's characters are now finally in the public domain. Disney no longer owns them, so some guy decided, hey, let's make a horror movie about Winnie the Pooh. Okay, I'm down with that. As a matter of fact, the film actually has started off with a good premise. I like the storyboard effects that they had at the beginning that shows Winnie the Pooh and how they became the creatures they are. We saw Christopher Robin. I like that little aspect of the film. And I think for the first at least 15 minutes of the film, I actually did enjoy what they're trying to do. But then we get to the typical slasher setup with some very uninteresting characters. The main, I guess you call final girl, is supposed to have some type of a problem. She's in some type of speaking to some type of psychiatrist or a psychologist, and that never plays more in the film. We have these other characters who will be some friends staying at some type of a hotel in 100 Acres Woods. We don't know much about them. They get no character development. And of course, we have the hot blonde. She has some nude scenes right there. But, I mean, just. Now, I did like the practical effects. We do got some practical effects, but because of the very uninteresting characters and nothing development, this falls as number 3 on my top five bad horror films. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, and unfortunately, we're going to get a part 2. Coming in at number 2, it is the horror movie Devereaux. Oh my God, you want to talk about a bad horror film? The plot was kind of interesting. We find out that this voodoo priest is coming back to right the wrongs of what happened to he and his family several years ago. I mean, you want to talk about some bad acting, some bad set designs, some bad directing. I think Tony Todd, who's actually is displayed on the poster, and he's only in the film barely about 5 minutes at all, if at all. And it's just terrible. It's like almost, you might as well say almost 90 minutes of nothingness. Like I said, bad acting, bad directing, scenes drag out forever and ever and ever. I say, oh God. Yeah, I had to fight with this and Winnie the Pooh as what would be my worst horror film of this year. But there's something worse than Devereaux. So coming in at number 2 is Devereaux. So I'm pretty sure you're saying, Monty, gee, what can be worse than Devereaux? Yes, there is a horror movie that is worse than Devereaux, and that is actually a film that actually was made in 2020, but it didn't come out until this year. It sat on the shelf forever, ever, ever, and finally was released this year. Yes, it is another attempt to adapt Stephen King's short story Children of the Corn. And again, they missed. And this was missed by a mile. You know, I don't know if anybody's ever going to create a decent adaptation of Stephen King's short story of Children of the Corn. We all want to see a nice visualization of He Who Walks Behind the Row. Now we had the first film that came out several years ago. Starred Linda Hamilton. Wasn't great, but it was okay. We had Malachi and all the children right there. They were became mainstays in the horror community. But as my good friends Jen and Christian from Jen and Reviews can tell you, all the rest of the films in this series are terrible. And then they have the gall to first they had a remake. I think it came out in 2009, and now we have another remake, kind of a little bit more faithful to the short story. And this time we get a girl as a leader of the children, and the actress who plays, she's about the only good thing about this particular film. And then when we finally actually get visual representation of He Who Walks Behind the Rose. Yeah, it's a terrible CGI version of Groot. Groot from the Guardians of the Galaxy. It's like, wait a minute, this is 2023. You obviously can make a better visual presentation of He Who Walks Behind the Rose. And this is the best you come up with? A terrible CGI version of Groot from Guardians of the Galaxy? Oh man, I cried my ass off when I saw this particular one. Yeah, you can't get anything worse. I mean, just as bad as Jeepers Creepers Reborn with that horrible green screen. Yes, you have something worse than that. So the worst horror film, in my opinion, by the way, of this year is Children of the Corn. Back to the drawing board, guys. So there you have it, my horror fans. That is my top 5 horror films of 2023. Again, this is my opinion. What do you believe are your top 5 or even top 10 worst horror films of the year? I mean, you can leave the script. You can leave your comments in the comment section below. Tell you your thought about the film. Also, if you like this video, please like and share because it does help out with the YouTube algorithm. Also, if you're new here, please hit that subscriber button, ring that notification bell. That way, we notify when I put a new video such as this one. I should have my top 10 best horror films of the year coming towards the end of this week, so look forward to that. Once again, my name is Lamont Smith, better known as the Horror Miser Money G, and always remember that horror rules. And I see you in my next video. That guy, stay safe out there.